2200 hours in Banjul, and this is GRTS News, broadcasting for viewers in the Gambia and around the world. Our top stories this hour. His Excellency President Adama Barrow receives an audience, the Ambassador of Libya and officials of Standard Chartered Bank at State House. Officials of Standard Chartered Bank clarifies continuity of banking operations amid sale of shares. The National Audit Office launches its COVID-19 audit report, and Somalia hails Chinese embassy for supporting hospital renovation. Finland's parliament opens a debate on whether to seek NATO membership after Russia's invasion of Ukraine. Well, that's the top of the news and much more coming ahead with me, Rohibite. Do stay. It's great to have you here, and we begin this bulletin with the presidency as His Excellency President Adama Barrow today received an audience. The Ambassador of Libya, His Excellency Mohamed Nabil Hassib, at State House. The Libyan ambassador is at the presidency to present his letter of credence to the Gambian leader. In a separate development, officials of Standard Chartered Bank also called on the president to brief him on the latest development surrounding the bank and the planned exit in the Gambia and for other 5 African countries. Mohamed Jallo reports.
The new ambassador-designate of Libya, His Excellency Mohamed Nawil Hassib, arrived at the State House to present his credentials. He was received with full honors by a detachment of the State Guard Battalion. Ambassador-designate Nawil Hassib was later escorted to chambers, where he formally presented his letters to the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow. The Gambia and Libya have had long diplomatic relations, and the appointment of Ambassador Nawil Hassib is expected to further consolidate these ties. After the formal ceremony, the Libyan ambassador was seen off by the Minister of Foreign Affairs, Dr. Mamadou Tangara. In a separate engagement, senior officials of the Standard Chartered Bank, Gambia Limited, called on the President, His Excellency Adama Barrow, to brief him on the latest developments surrounding one of the oldest financial institutions. The officials were led by Lamin Manjang, Chief Executive Officer, West Africa Cluster. Speaking to reporters after the meeting, Mr. Manjang confirmed that the bank is poised to exit the Gambia and 4 other African countries after selling its shares to a new investor.
First of all, the word exiting the market created some anxiety because some people thought exiting meant winding down, closing the bank and just leaving the country. So that is not the case. Standard Chartered Bank has got shares in Standard Chartered Bank Gambia, about 75% shareholding, and 25% of the shares are owned by locals, owned by Gambians. It is this 75% that is being sold to another investor, of course, very early at this stage to see who that investor will be. But then it is that shareholding that is being transferred. But as far as the operations of the bank are concerned, they will continue.
He, however, asserted that the bank has taken all necessary measures to ensure continuity of operations and retention of staff.
So in the meantime, what is important is to assure the staff, the clients, and other stakeholders that the bank will continue to operate under business as usual conditions. So Chooks here and the chairman and the local team have done a lot over the last few days to assure all the stakeholders that the bank is open for business. We will continue to operate normally until we reach the point where that strategic investor has been identified and the group has been able to sell the shares to that strategic investor.
The Standard Chartered Bank is one of the oldest financial institutions in the Gambia, and this latest development, according to these officials, will not affect services which are described as the best in the Gambia. Momodu Jallo, GRTS News.
Well, officials of the Standard Chartered Bank continue to provide information on its decision to exit 7 markets in Africa and Asia, including the Gambia. Earlier today, the CEO of Standard Chartered Bank for Nigeria and West Africa said the decision does not affect the operation of the bank. Mr. Lamin Manjang made the remark during a press briefing by Standard Chartered Bank. Ibrahim Jallo has been following this developing story and he's filing this report.
Top officials of the Standard Chartered Bank clarified that it is not closing operations in business terms. It is simply selling its share of the investment. The Chief Executive Officer of the Standard Chartered Bank in Nigeria and West Africa, Lamin Manjang, informed journalists that a strategic decision was made to shift attention from low-scale to larger-scale markets with potential growth for the bank.
The decision for exiting these markets is based on a strategic decision that was taken by the group to refocus our resources, our attention to markets where we see growth and scale opportunities. And hence the decision that we will be selling the shareholding of Standard Chartered Bank in Standard Chartered Gambia to strategic investors who will then own the majority shares. It's important to clarify that the bank is not shutting down its door and leaving the country. The operations will continue, but it will simply continue with new ownership.
75% of the investment is up for sale by the Standard Chartered. However, the bank will undergo a name change if successfully sold to another investor.
The brand Standard Chartered obviously will no longer then be in the market, but then the operations that are here in terms of the people, in terms of the clients, in terms of the resources, that will continue.
The bank officials said there is no cause for alarm and that customers and staff are not affected by this strategic move.
We continue business as usual. So the bank is open. Our staff, they are posed to continue to provide service to our customers, and all the shops, every different thing that we do for the customer is still open. Our ATMs are loaded. I've actually personally went to all the branches today to ensure that customers are being served. So what will happen is that we're hoping that the potential buyers will take over the business.
The Standard Chartered Bank has been operating in the Gambia for more than 100 years and has become a household name in the country. Ibrahim Jallo, GRTS News.
The National Audit Office on Thursday launched its COVID-19 audit report. The report focused mainly on procurement and distribution of food and medical items within the Greater Banjul area and some parts of West Coast region. Alajimbai reports.
The Office of the Auditor General conducted a special audit of the COVID-19 funds spent between March and October 2020 on food and medical items procured and distributed within the Greater Banjul area. This, according to the Auditor General, Karamba Toure, followed a risk assessment to enhance accountability in the use of public funds.
Following the government's use of public resources to respond to the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic, my office started the audit process with a risk assessment that identified different subject matters which are ranked according to their assessed risk level and materiality. As a result, procurement and distribution of food and medical supplies were ranked the highest, and that is how we arrived at the scope for the COVID-19 Phase 1 special audit. The ultimate objective of this special audit on the COVID-19 response was to track and report on government's response and measures to the COVID-19 pandemic, hold government to account in the use of public resources, and recommend ways to strengthen government response to this emergency situation as well as future emergencies.
Deputy Auditor General 1, Pamajan Dao, gave an overview of the report.
Key issues identified. First bullet point, procurements of medical items amounting $123,232,642 were made without any needs assessment. Another point, payment of 40,000 euros for transportation of herbal tonic through Guinea-Bissau, for which there was no proven medical need. Also, GPPA approval was not provided for single source procurements totaling over $2 million. Payments amounting to over $22 million were made without supporting documents.
His colleague, Deputy Auditor General 2, Baba S. Drame, stressed the importance of adhering to audit recommendations.
Engaging more and better with key stakeholders like the civil society, media, National Assembly, auditees, and citizens of the Gambia is a strategic priority in NAO's strategic development plan for 2020-2024. Implementation of audit recommendation has been an issue the National Audit Office has been dealing with for quite a long time. It is time that we find tangible solutions, and I hope with your support we should be able to find a solution.
The report was submitted to the Ministries of Health and Trade, the National Assembly, the National Disaster Management Agency, and also published on the National Audit Office website. Alajimbai, GRTS News.
A 4-day training on entrepreneurship is underway in the Lower River region. The training, organized by NEDI in partnership with the Rice Value Chain Transformative Project, is meant to equip youths with the knowledge and skills in managing their businesses. Usman Balde has more on that.
4 days General Entrepreneurship Training Program is funded by the African Development Bank and implemented by the Ministry of Agriculture with the objectives of boosting rice production and reduce the importation of rice in the country. The project is implemented in CRR's North and South and URR by Rice Value Chain Transformative Project with 3 components.
Increase production and productivity of rice. The second component is agribusiness development and capacity building. And the third component is project management. In the component of agribusiness development and capacity building, we institute the establishment of youth service centers. Because the youthful nature of the country, youths are not very active in agriculture. And agriculture cannot be developed without the absence of the youths.
These young people gathered to be equipped with knowledge and skills to properly manage the centers in their various regions and to make sure that the centers achieve their objectives.
These centers is not meant only for services. Like the idea is like the farmers need plowing. They go to the center, pay, the area that he's plowed is calculated, and you charge the farmer, and the youth go and plow for him. That's the primary purpose of the center. But in addition, we would want each of these centers to have their own production farms, their own farms to produce directly, in addition to giving service, commercial services. My agronomist is here. We will support you with seeds and fertilizer if you show us the land.
The regional youth coordinators for Lower River Region, Fabakari Sane and Musa Jara of Upper River Region, call on young people of their regions to take the opportunity given to them seriously, as they are the selected out of thousands of young people across the country. Abdul Kabir Dafe, program manager of NEDI, said the provision of right farming equipments can inspire young people to fully participate in agricultural production.
We are happy that the Rice Value Chain Transformation Project has supported our young people with this to make sure they maximize their potential as a business. The call has always been there from us that for us to develop our economy, young people must be engaged in the right value chain sector. And having the right equipment to do business is one way that we can solve the poverty of this country.
According to organizers, this forum will also make participants to be aware of some of the opportunities available in the country in which they can be injected into self-sustain and be financially equipped. Usman Balde, GRTS News.
The Vision Development Foundation donated over 1,000 bags of sugar to different government institutions and communities across the country. The gesture is part of a customary undertaking by the foundation to serve with the less privileged. Aissatou Keita reports.
Ramadan donation to the public has become a customary practice by the Vision Development Foundation. The charitable organization, spearheaded by renowned Gambian philanthropist Turo Dabo, gets really busy during the holy month, with presentations fulfilling the Islamic value of sharing and caring with the less privileged. This presentation consists of over 1,010 kilogram bags of sugar distributed to different government institutions, including the security apparatus and other groups. One by one, various beneficiaries took turns to express appreciation and gratitude to the VDF and Turo Dabo, who has been described by many as a strong patriot who shares his wealth with all.
So on behalf of the Gambia Armed Forces, I say thank you, and we really appreciate you. And we pray to God the Almighty to give you more strength and more financial support in order for you to continue doing this good gesture and humanitarian assistance that you are rendering to the people of the Gambia.
Mr. Dabo, this is not new for anyone in the Gambia. We know what Mr. Dabo is doing to the general public, more especially the securities.
These items given are widely consumed during this time of the year, and as alluded to by these individuals, the gesture is timely. For the VDF, it is an obligation to support and care, as it will be a continuation as long as the foundation remains.
This is the second time around we're doing it for this year. The first one was done last week. We gave about 4,000 bags of sugar and rice to different communities in the country. And today we will do another 4,000 bags of sugar and rice, mainly sugar, to the security apparatus.
A continuous delivery of charity by the Vision Development Foundation under the auspices and leadership of Modu Turo Dabo brings much needed help for scores of Muslims across the Gambia. The renowned philanthropist has for long valued the need to share his wealth with many, not only in Ramadan but during different festivities including Eid celebrations and Christmas. For GRTS News, this is Aissatou Keita.
And still on donations, the Taiba Charitable Organization continues its Ramadan donation to the rural Gambia. The gesture in Numial in the Upper River region is meant to provide support to vulnerable families, particularly widows. Our URR correspondent, Seydou Kamara, witnessed the food item distribution in Numial as he prepared in this report.
A massive distribution of food items to needy people in Numial and its satellite villages. According to the Assistant Public Relations Officer of the organization, Mohamed Jeng, the distribution meant to support vulnerable people, especially the widows, by providing them with food items for iftar.
We only help the poor and the needy not only on food items, but also we build schools, we build mosques, we also drill boreholes for them, and many more. So the charity is also very strong, helping other teachers and making other initiatives that is also improving the well-being of the Gambians. And the well-being of the Gambians, this has been a major concern for Taiba Charity Center. This is why their main focus is on the needy and the poor people. Moreover, the widows. These people have been the bottleneck of our main issues. This is why we embark majority on helping them on their social needs.
The man behind the noble gesture, Haruna M. Kamara, said his organization values the welfare of women, especially during Ramadan.
Bi niaje mo jama'a na faso do jang wala musol la kayro le atinna dugo nyim projet o ala aslo mo menti wala musolti so jang nyin kambe yitandi pour kay tan ko musol muslimiya la hakolon na ya bunyala ya kumandile.
The distributed items include essential commodities such as rice, onions, and cooking oil. The NGO's Affairs Program Officer in the Upper River region, Modu Danso, commended Taiba Charitable Organization for complementing government's effort in providing support to needy communities, with particular emphasis on women.
And this food distribution will help a long way in sustaining the less privilege that we have in our community, because we can all understand that we are in the month of Ramadan. And Ramadan is a special month that everybody has to enjoy. So it is only fair that those among us that do not have the necessary means to sustain themselves are being provided by Taiba. And Taiba's effort is just here to complement the effort of the government.
Speaking on behalf of the beneficiaries, Fatou Toure thanked the Taiba Charitable Organization for the kind gesture and prayed for the organization. Beneficiaries acknowledged the significance of the gesture, noting that it will go a long way in uplifting the lives and livelihoods of their families. Seydou Kamara, reporting for Jartis News.
You're watching Jartis News with me, Rohi Bite. We'll take a quick break and return with the internationals. Do stay. Welcome back. One of the biggest maternal and child hospitals in Somalia on Tuesday opened its newly renovated operating theater. Somalia health officials hailed the Chinese embassy for supporting the renovation. The project is part of the implementation of the outcomes of the Africa-China Cooperation Conference held last year. Mohamed Kaji has the details on that report.
Banadir Hospital in Mogadishu was built in the 1970s. With support from the People's Republic of China. Decades later, the Chinese embassy in Somalia funded the upgrade and the renovation of the operation theater to restore its capabilities. Authorities say they need more medical support.
We need trainings, more training, specific trainings, and the right equipment. Our people are amazing. Those people here and outside, they are doing a great job. So please help us in it to train more people. We can, not only in here, but from all the federal member states too. Let us have even short online courses where we empower people, specialization in several areas, medical equipment, and we will be flying with all our own wings.
The Chinese ambassador pledged to implement the outcome of last year's Africa-China Cooperation Conference held in Dakar, Senegal.
Chinese President Xi Jinping, at the opening ceremony of the conference, spelled out 4 proposals and 9 programs. Enhancing practical cooperation, particularly in the health and medical fields, is one of those programs and proposals. And we believe this is very important. That's why to follow through on his proposals and programs, the Chinese embassy here has the honor and pride to join efforts of our Somali counterparts to go ahead with this renovation project of the OT in the hospital.
As part of growing cooperation between China and Africa, medical experts from Beijing are expected here in Mogadishu later this year to provide training and capacity building to their Somali counterparts.
Doctors and nurses from top Chinese medical institutions will join their counterparts in Somalia, including those in the Banadir Hospital, to share experience and expertise on the health challenges facing mothers and children in Somalia.
With the resumption of cesarean capabilities in February this year, the hospital has received more than 200 pregnant mothers and has continued to offer medical assistance to victims of the worsening drought and the COVID-19 pandemic. Mohamed Kahi, CGTN, Mogadishu, Banadir.
South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa sent 10 top ministers to the city of Durban in KwaZulu-Natal province after floods and mudslides wreaked havoc in the southeastern region a week ago. The latest death toll from the devastating flood stood at 448 by April 24th. For a deeper look into this, CGTN Richard Tarr had a chat with Thomas Bunguni, a community activist at Groundwork.
This is a huge disaster, and I would say this is not the first time that we see such a level of disaster, not only in South Africa, but we've also seen in other neighboring countries. And Richard, I would say to the listeners, I would be concerned if our government is going to say this is the worst climate change disaster they've seen, because I think we've been campaigning and telling not only our government, but governments in other in other countries that we need to begin to deal with climate change. We need to ensure that our systems are in a position to be resilient when we begin to see the impacts of climate change. But most notably, I think we also need to realize that this shows how the services that are being provided by our government are not up to standard. And this also indicates how government is failing people when it comes to housing and access to basic services. So if you look into the level of infrastructure that has been destroyed, the roads, the schools, the clinics, then you need to ask yourself of the quality of service that was provided when such infrastructure was developed. But we also need to be mindful of the fact that there are still millions and millions of people who are living in informal settlements. And this time around, we've seen how millions and thousands of those people have been exposed in Durban, and we know that most of them do not have a place to live as we speak. So this speaks to our failure of our government, not only to act on climate change impacts, but also to provide basic services to ordinary residents of this country.
Finland's parliament opened a debate on whether to seek NATO membership after Russia's invasion of Ukraine sparked a surge in political and public support for joining the military alliance. Finland's prime minister said that her country would now decide quickly on whether to apply for membership. I think it will happen quite fast, within weeks, not within months, Prime Minister Sanna Marin said last week.
Finland's defence needs strengthening, and it's a view shared by most of her compatriots today. After 2 decades of public support for joining NATO hovering around 20 to 30%, polls show that over 60% are now in favour.
We've been relatively secure until now, but I already thought that we should have joined NATO in the 60s, as we have Europe's longest border with Russia.
I used to be against joining NATO, but because of this situation, I'm now more in favour. I wouldn't say that I feel especially unsafe right now, but it's more like, what if something happened?
As a mere NATO partner, Finland currently enjoys no security guarantees.
When you're a small country and you're living next to a revisionist, aggressive, totalitarian and imperialist state, you have to sort of balance between idealism and realism. And realism is now that Putin has attacked Ukraine and he could do the same thing somewhere else. So we never want to be left alone again.
As the debate over NATO membership opened in Parliament, 8 out of 10 parliamentary group leaders expressed support either for joining or aligning itself militarily with the organisation. Only the Left Alliance, a junior partner in the ruling coalition, voiced an opposing view, warning that it would put Finland on the front line of a potential Russian attack. Prime Minister Sanna Marin has said Finland's decision could be taken within weeks. Its bid would then need to be accepted by all NATO states, a process that could take 4 months to a year. The Finnish...
And that's it for now, but a quick look at our top stories once again. His Excellency President Adama Barrow today received in audience the Ambassador of Libya and officials of the Standard Chartered Bank at State House. And officials of Standard Chartered Bank have clarified continuity of banking operation amid sale of shares. The National Audit Office on Thursday launched its COVID-19 audit report. And away from home, one of the biggest maternal and child hospitals in Somalia on Tuesday opened its newly renovated operating theatre. And Finland's parliament opened a debate on whether to seek NATO membership after Russia's invasion, a surge in political and public support for joining the military alliance. Well, that's it for the news. Thanks for the pleasure of your company. And do stay tuned to GRTS's interesting programs. Until then, do have a pleasant night.